And live from the WQAQ studio at Quinnipiac University, you're listening to Infinite Sports Radio on this Tuesday evening. I thank you for joining us. I'm in the studio alone today, and the phones aren't working, so we're going to try something a little different. I got Ben Upson, my co-host, on a Skype call, so let's see if that works. Ben, can you hear me? Can you can you talk through the board?
Kenny, I sure can hear you. How am I sounding up?
All right, yeah, actually you sound perfect. All right, so this is working out better than I expected. So no echoing or anything? Nothing?
Nothing. We sound good.
All right, perfect. Thank goodness. Because I walked into the studio and the phone is apparently not working. Hopefully that wasn't because of us, because we've had to use the phone the last couple weeks because of, Ben's COVID situation. But
yes.
Yeah, but hopefully we get the phone back up and running, and hopefully you'll be making a return to campus this weekend.
That is the plan. I'm looking forward to it. And another great show tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so a quick thing, I filled in, I actually guest starred on the Rundown on Sunday, which is Ben's show, and, it didn't get off to the best start, but, we made it work, and it was nice to guest star on the show. So, that's just a little side story. But, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We got the Yankees to talk about. We got a bunch of baseball stuff to talk about, actually. We'll get into the NBA stuff a little bit. Jamal Murray, the point guard for the Nuggets, he tore his ACL, so we'll get into that. Wide receiver, for the New England Patriots, Julian Edelman announced his retirement, so we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. The Masters concluded this past weekend, so I know Ben's going to definitely want to talk about that because he's a big golf guy. And we'll get into a bunch of other stuff, because we like to, get sidetracked and talk about a bunch of different things. So, so kind of let's get right into it. So, with the Yankees have played now... the Yankees have played 10 games now. They're about to start another one tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays. They got Jameson Taillon on the mound for them, who pitched okay in his first start. And then for the Blue Jays, we got Hyun-Jin Ryu, who's got a 2.92 ERA to start the year for the Blue Jays. So here's my thing with the Yankees. Their pitching's been fine. Okay, it did get a little roughed up in the Rays series, and I'll go into a little bit of that as we go along here. But, yesterday, in particular, the Yankees just did not hit. Now, the Yankees won the game thanks to Kyle Higashioka, and one of the things I want to mention with Kyle Higashioka is the fact that, everybody's been talking about, he's got a great chemistry with Garrett Cole. Is Aaron Boone going to make him Garrett Cole's personal catcher? And, Aaron Boone, when it comes to injuries and it comes to, stuff like this, he doesn't give you a direct answer. But so far, Kyle Higashioka has caught Garrett Cole, I think in his last two starts now. So I don't want to make a huge deal out of this, but, I'm thinking maybe Kyle Higashioka is going to be the personal catcher for Garrett Cole moving forward. I don't know. I mean, that's just me. But, hey, he was the reason they won yesterday. He had 2 hits, 3 RBIs, and those 2 hits were home runs. He had all 3 RBIs. He had a solo shot and a 2-run homer. The 2-run homer came in the 5th inning. The solo shot came in the 8th, gave the Yankees an insurance run. The Yankees were getting no hit during the game yesterday. It took until the 5th inning for them to get anything going. And it was the bottom of the order. Rougned Odor, who they acquired from the Rangers, had a hit yesterday, and Mike Tauchman had a hit yesterday, and Higashioka had 2 hits. So outside of that, everybody else in the Yankees lineup did nothing. DJ LeMahieu 0 for 4 yesterday with 3 strikeouts. Giancarlo Stanton, he was 0 for 4 yesterday with the strikeout. Judge was 0 for 2 with 2 walks, so he at least got on base. Torres got on base with a walk, but he was 0 for 3 with the strikeout. Urshela was 0 for 3 with a walk. Frazier was 0 for 2 with a walk and a strikeout. Listen, I'm happy that the Yankees won the game yesterday. This is good for them now. They've won 2 straight now. but they still can't hit. They're not hitting. And this is something that, myself and Ben, we talk about all the time. Listen, Yankees are going to win 90-plus games this year. I think, there's no question about that unless something catastrophic happens. But they have proven that when their players get hurt, they're able to weather the storm and have a good regular season. But, you can win 90 games, 90-plus games, make the playoffs. But it's the regular season, doesn't really mean anything anymore. It's about what you get done in the playoffs. And the Yankees, the last couple of years, have not gotten it done in the playoffs. And this is something that, we keep repeating. We keep saying the same thing over and over again with this team.
And I'll say, Kenny, that, to remind everyone that baseball isn't just a sprint, it's a marathon. And it really does ring true, even though we hear it so often. And in some ways, yes, like over a 10-game stretch that now the Yankees are 5-5. Sure, the offense has definitely had some, stagnant games. Of course, only putting up 2 runs on opening day to Toronto. They scored, 8 runs in that entire opening weekend series. You mentioned it, Kyle Higashioka was really the hero last night. Solely carried the Yankees by himself. We'll see what happens tonight. First pitch just minutes away. But yeah, you can't, like, you can look at these first 10 games and take away, some of the bad things, but you have to know that there's really a long way to go. We're 6% of the way through the season, something like that. And
I don't even think that. It might be less than that, but yeah.
Yeah. Ton of baseball left though.
Yeah, no, definitely. But it's just, like, we know what happens when this team gets to October, and it's usually we don't get good results. We don't. And it just, I'm a little concerned with LeMahieu because LeMahieu has been automatic with runners in scoring position. They've been talking about it a lot on the Yes Network, how he was batting like, not counting this year, he was batting .375, something like that, with runners in scoring position. I mean, the guy was automatic with runners in scoring position. This year, he really hasn't done anything. And it's really concerning. And listen, I don't want to, say, well, he got that contract, now he's not going to do anything. I don't want to say, I don't want to sound like that, but, it is concerning. And listen, I'm growing very impatient with Stanton. I've been impatient with him. He hasn't done anything. He's done nothing this whole year. Other than that grand slam against the Orioles last week, he has done absolutely nothing. He's looked lost at the plate. Torres, he's not doing good hitting-wise. He's batting barely over 200. His defense, it kind of cost the Yankees a game the other night in extra innings. I think it was the final game in the Orioles series. So, yeah, there was that. He hasn't looked good, and of course Judge being out, missing those 2 games, that did kind of hurt, but he's back in the lineup and he's playing, so at least that's encouraging. And I think was it last night or the other night against in the finale against the Rays, he was rounding third base and he was running really hard. So that's very encouraging to see, and it's a good thing that, like I said, it's encouraging to see, but especially considering the fact that, Aaron Boone was saying he had side soreness or whatever, and anytime you hear Aaron Judge with an injury on the injury report or him missing a game or 2, you're concerned as a Yankee fan because the guy's missed a lot of games the past 2 years. But
it's like the guy in SpongeBob that has glass bones. That's kind of what Aaron Judge feels like.
Glass bones and paper skin. Exactly. That was a good reference. But it's just it's ridiculous.
That's what it feels like. And I was just going to say something quick about Stanton, Kenny. Why is he batting out of the second spot? I understand that Aaron Hicks is obviously
that was interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Hicks is back in the lineup. He's batting 5th tonight, but second though, like Boone couldn't put. I'd rather have Judge bat before Stanton.
That's another guy that's looked lost. Hicks. I forgot about Hicks.
Yeah, Aaron Hicks, 129. He's had a really cold start, and. Look at his stats last year in the shortened season, 6 homers, 21 RBIs, 225. He didn't have fantastic numbers either last year, but this is a really concerning start. Of course, he's got that 1 homer. I think, didn't that come against Baltimore this past week? I want to say
the home run came against the the Rays. It came in the opener against the Rays, I believe. Because we're up like 4-2, and I put the Yankees up 4-2, I believe, and then it fell apart after that.
Yeah, but he's got to find his rhythm. Also, Jay Bruce, the backup to Luke Voit, of course.
Yeah.
First weekend he comes in, opening weekend, gets a 2 RBI single. It's like, all right, Jay Bruce. All right, you know what? What the heck? He can't be that bad, right? And now he's batting 111. And
yep.
Look, it's typical of a veteran backup first baseman, as DJ LeMahieu opens up tonight's game with a base hit.
All right, so there we go. I got him for beat the streak, so that's what I needed. Perfect. Now I just need Mike Trout to get a hit as well.
One of those table setters. But Kenny, if anything, the one player that I really like so far over the course of these opening days is Gio Urshela. And the other night, in that Rays series, I think it was, he had 5 RBIs. And was that Urshela who had 5 RBIs? 3 RBIs. Excuse me.
Yeah, that was the game they won in extra innings, right? The finale.
Yeah. And, Gio's had some nice at bats. He's got a couple multi-hit games already to start the season, including that 4-for-5 game that we just talked about on Sunday. And it's good to see him off to a good start. Batting .294 with a homer, 4 RBIs. And just outside the offense, Brian Hoke, of course, Yankees beat reporter for MLB.com, wrote about just today on Twitter that the Yankees bullpen has tossed 13 consecutive scoreless innings, and only the Padres have a better bullpen ERA. They are at a straight 1. The Yankees have a 1.61. So there are some good things hidden into this team.
There definitely is. But I think going into this season, my concern was with the lineup, and that's really been their biggest flaw so far is the lineup.
Right. And right cue, Giancarlo grounds into a double play.
Yeah, exactly. So what is it now? That puts his average, it was at 167. Now it's down to
162.
Yeah, so he stinks. I mean, listen, I was not a fan. I was not a fan of when he first came to the Yankees. Well, first of all, I didn't want him, okay? But I was like, okay, whatever, But then, he's getting booed after the first week of the season back in 2018. I mean, that was ridiculous. I mean, he really, other than the postseason last year, I mean, he really hasn't done anything. I mean, yes, the first season that he was on the team, he hit 30 home runs, drove in 100 had 100 RBIs. But other than that, guy doesn't play. Especially in the 2019 postseason, he didn't play. When we needed him against the Astros, he did nothing. He has done nothing since he's been a Yankee. And is someone going to come along and, give him and take off his contract from us? No. We're going to be stuck with him. And it stinks because he doesn't play the field. I mean, I think he did. Actually, no, he didn't play the field yesterday. I thought he did. I don't remember. But he's been awful since he's been a Yankee. Yeah, so the Yankees, after the LeMahieu hit, Judge goes down on strikes, bottom of the first they're playing in Florida. TD Ballpark in Florida, I believe. Yeah, because the Blue Jays can't play in the Rogers Center because stuff with, COVID and the pandemic, I guess they don't want people, going across the border. So, yeah, so the Blue Jays, that's the other thing that stinks with the Blue Jays, just a quick thing. They don't have like a permanent home. I mean, they're going to be going to different ballparks throughout the year until, we get COVID under control, which, that's a whole nother thing, COVID. Anyways, so yeah, the Blue Jays, they don't have a permanent home. That's why they're playing the Yankees in Florida, whatever.
They are supposedly, though, going back to
Buffalo, right?
Field in Buffalo.
Yeah, because that's where they played last season. I believe.
And if COVID does get better, the Blue Jays' hope is that by late summer that they can get back to Rogers Center, but that's going to be tricky right now. But
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Right now, yeah.
But for now, they'll be playing in the U.S. for all their games. It looks like for a good while. So
yeah, it's a tough situation. How you look at it, and we're growing impatient, but hopefully we're better days are ahead. I feel like being very repetitive saying that, but whatever. Yeah, so back to what we were with the Yankees. Playing the Blue Jays, they really can't hit. The bullpen's been really good. The rotation's been good. Garrett Cole's been good. I mean, the one concerning thing, or another concerning thing that I have is, Ben, I think one of the very alarming things is the fact that the Yankees just have a problem with the Rays, and especially at Tropicana Field. I mean, those first two games were really pathetic, especially the second game where they got shut out. And listen, you could say whatever you want about the Yankees, but this is a team that does not get shut out. And it really takes them, like the last couple of seasons, it took till like late in the season for them to finally get shut out in games. But they got shut out, 7-8 games into the season. I mean, that's just not good. And again, it just goes back to the Yankees not being able to hit. But listen, the Rays are the team that beat you guys last year in a best-of-5 game series. Now, yes, it was on a neutral field, but you're better than them. The Yankees, on paper, are better than the Rays. And for some reason, the Yankees just cannot beat the Rays. And if the Yankees are going up against the Rays in October, I'm scared. Okay, I am really scared. And especially, I mean, look at how Glasnow pitched last night. He pitched amazing. Now, it's not the rotation's not what it was last year because Charlie Morton's not there, and they traded Blake Snell. Chris Archer, he left his start early. I think it was the second game of the series that the Yankees played against the Rays. I believe it was that game, I want to say. But, the pitching for the Rays is still good. They have the Yankees' number. And it's something that's very concerning because the Yankees want to win this division, and they want to go far this year, and they want to win the whole thing. I want them to win the whole thing. I went on that whole rant, a couple weeks ago for a reason, because I want this team to do good and finally win a championship after, this long absence from the World Series, but not off to a good start. But again, like Ben mentioned, there's a long way to go. We got a long way to go. And there's a lot of baseball left to be played, so we'll see where everything settles once we get towards October. But you know what? Another team in the AL East that's actually been kind of surprising is the Boston Red Sox. And they now have won 7 straight after getting swept by the Orioles. They now have a 2-game lead in first place. They're 7-3. The offense has looked pretty good. The pitching hasn't been that bad. So, I mean, what do we think, Ben? Are we buying into this, or is this a mirage?
Tough to say. I'm not really bought on the Red Sox personally. I mean, it's a great start.
Yeah, I'm not either. I mean, like we've seen starts like this. I think it was the 2019 when the Mariners went off to that great start. They were like 16-3 or something like that, and then they just completely fell off. So, but I mean, you look at the Red Sox. I mean, especially look at JD Martinez. He's batting over 400, 5 homers and 16 RBIs.
Right.
Bogarts is batting over 360.
Yeah, Bobby Dalbec had a go-ahead double today. I did see that, 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs against the Twins.
Yeah, I mean the pitching really hasn't been that bad. So I don't know. I don't know what to think. I mean, yes, it is like overall it's too early to tell, but everybody's a little jammed up right now in the standings as of right now with the AL East. So,
Kenny, quick stat note. So, this tweet came out Friday, so I'm going to do the math. This guy said that the Yankees are 39-56 at Tropicana Field since the start of the 2010 season. So do the math. They won one and then they lost another. So that means they're now 40-57 since 2010 in Tampa. Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they were talking about it on the Yes Network. I think they said they were like 17-27. I mean, you went even further back. They're 17-27 in their last 49 games at the Trop. Yeah, it's not good. It's just not a good record. You know, and
Twitter's a miracle when it comes to finding these stats. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, I don't know what it is. I mean, they were talking about, you know, like just the lighting, the how the stadium is and all that. I mean, maybe it's because of the rays in the fish tank. I don't know. I have no idea. Well, actually, didn't they take the rays out of the fish tank last year?
Yes, I think they did actually. Now that you mentioned that, I don't know if that was due to COVID or they were getting rid of them. I don't know.
I think it might have been because of COVID, but I mean,
that's probably why.
Yeah. So just another thing that COVID had to take away from us. You know, the spectacle of the rays in the tanks at Tropicana Field. You know, we just can't win. We can't win. But you know, I mean, like, I don't know. I just don't want to be disappointed. Like, can we, like, as Yankee fans, can we just see the Yankees, you know, win? Like, just win the whole thing? I mean, how many times am I going to say this? I only got one more semester left. Okay? All right? So I'm not going to be on these airwaves for that much longer. I better see them in the World Series in October before I'm out of here. Please, just do it.
I want to see it for John and Susan. Those poor guys, you know, they've been going at it for 33 years now.
Oh, they've seen their share of championships. Get out of here.
That's true. But give them a farewell tour. I hate
whoa, what are you, kicking them out the door already?
What? No. I love it. John is 82. He still does every game. He is dedicated. He's sharp.
Well, you know what? I've been a little concerned because last year he missed a few games, and I think, or maybe the year before, I think whatever it was. Well, I think last year and the year before
was for his granddaughter's graduation or something. I think that's why.
I think he was dealing with some illness or something, or some health issues. I don't remember, but you know, when John Sterling starts missing games, you know, that's a problem. I have a problem with that because he does, yeah, like you mentioned, he does every game. Just every game. I mean, they had Ricky Ricardo fill in a couple times, but it's not the same without John. So, listen, I'm hoping John does it forever, seriously. I mean, you know, they've had their blunders, though, over the years, though, but, you know, that's what makes it great. I mean, you got to have John and Susan. There is no other team I would rather have doing the radio broadcast than those two people because they've been doing it for so long. And I'm somebody that does not like change. I don't like change. So you know,
best in business by far.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, they've been doing it forever. I mean, you know, back when the Yankees actually used to win championships, but whatever. You know, so you know what? Let's kind of transition from the Yankees. You know, we'll give some live updates as we get through as we go through the show tonight. Let's go to the other New York baseball team. So let's actually talk about the Mets home opener. So the Mets won their home opener on a controversial play where Michael Conforto, the outfielder for the Mets, clearly leans into the pitch, gets hit by the pitch, and is able to get a walk-off hit by pitch. The umpires came together. They didn't overturn the call. And it's funny because the home plate umpire called it a strike. And it would have been a strike. Conforto would have been out. And I don't know who would have been up after Conforto, but they walked Lindor to get to Conforto. So the Mets won off of that. And this is just another one of those things where it's just so aggravating. It is so aggravating. Actually, there's another play that we're going to talk about. It was the play that happened in the Braves Phillies game. I don't know, Ben. I don't know if that's an Ups and Unleashed segment. I don't know if that is or not. I mean, we really didn't talk about it. Was that supposed to be on Ups and Unleashed?
Hadn't given a lot of thought yet to Ups and Unleashed, but I think that's going on the list tonight.
All right. I mean,
it's a big topic. Good topic. Thanks for the suggestion, Kenny. I always like taking notes.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea. I know that's what you wanted. That was one of the things you did want to talk about. But yeah, so we'll get into that. But anyways, with Conforto, you can clearly see that he leaned into the pitch. If you see the play, elbow clearly leans into the pitch, and the umpires don't overturn it because it's not a reviewable play. I mean, come on, what? That doesn't make. Okay, I understand that from that perspective, but you can literally just go to the replay. You could even look at it on the Jumbotron, and you could determine, Conforto clearly leans into the pitch. It was going to be a strike. He's out. Next guy up. But they don't do that. They don't overturn the call. The Mets end up winning. I mean, good for the Mets. I mean, I guess that's the only way the Mets are going to win a game is by doing that. Because right now their offense stinks too. I mean, what? It's ridiculous. Replay was put into place so we can correct the mistakes. So we don't have another one of those Alamando Galarraga plays where, he's about to get a perfect game and then Jim Joyce calls the guy safe at first base on the last batter of the game, or was supposed to be the last batter of the game with 2 outs. This is why replay was put into place. And guess what? They're still getting things wrong. Just like in the NFL. The pass they're like, all right, you can review pass interference. Okay, they do that. They can't even get that right either. And we still don't know what a catch is. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? I don't know. Baseball is just... Baseball's in trouble. Baseball is in trouble. There are things that just get me so aggravated with baseball. I mean, there's that. There's they keep the guy at second in the extra inning rule. I mean, like, what are we doing? Baseball, I don't know. Baseball is just not what it used to be. I mean, the good thing is fans have kind of got my interest back into it. But, I mean, it's not the sport that I remember growing up. It's just not. I mean, the replay is supposed to get things right. And they still can't get things right. I mentioned this on the... I actually did mention this on your show, Ben, on Sunday. I said, back in the day, umpires would review home run calls. Like, even without the replay. Like, they would go into the dugout or the tunnel or whatever, and they would review the play, and then they would come out and say whether it was a home run or not. Back in the 2009 World Series with A-Rod. I mean, this is what I mentioned on Ben's show. And back in 2009 with A-Rod. A-Rod hit a 2-run homer in... I think it was Game 3 of the World Series. Put the Yankees up 3-2, whatever it was. And they had to go back and review it because the ball hit the lens of the camera. But the camera was over the wall. So because of that, they went into the tunnel, whatever, reviewed the home run, and they said it was a home run. And there was no replay back then. So why couldn't you do that? And the thing that doesn't make sense is, how is it that none of the umpires, when they got together to go over this play, how did none of them say, he leaned into the pitch? Like, what was the conversation like? I mean, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's really a problem that this is happening, Kenny. I mean, the purpose of replay being put in was to help, correct calls, not
exactly
incorrect. And this is another example of, another blunder by Major League Baseball. I mean, the fact that the rule states that it's a non-reviewable play. How is that possible? Because if you can clearly see that Michael Conforto stuck his elbow out over the plate, the ball brushes it, he leaned in. It's clear that he leaned in. And obviously, look, I'm not saying, like, of course in baseball it'll be like, oh, it's one game, what's the big deal? Sure, but it was a pretty crucial call no matter what. I mean, this is, to decide the game. And a walk-off hit by pitch ended up being the call. The MLB's got to reverse that rule because that's really a joke that you're not allowed to review those types of plays. I mean, because all the umps did was literally they gathered together to look like they made it look like.
What's the conversation?
It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. How like, what was there? There was 4 or 5 guys there, and not one of them said, hey, he leaned into the pitch. He should be out. Like, why? Because the Mets were already celebrating? Because they didn't want to get booed and have stuff get thrown at him? Like, what? What was the reason for that? Did somebody place a bet on the game? Like, what? Like, I mean, what is the reason for that? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. I don't understand. We have replay. The NBA has replay now, too. The NHL has replay. All these sports have replay. Replay is supposed to get things right. Why is it we are still having this problem? It's got to get corrected. And like I said, I guess that's the only way the Mets can win a game is by doing that. God forbid they could give DeGrom some run support. Seriously. I mean, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. And they've looked pathetic, too. They can't do anything. I mean, you look at this. Let me pull up the stats right now. The current batting averages for everybody. By the way, Mets won the first game of the doubleheader against the Phillies. Good for them. Jonathan VR, RBI single. They win 4-3. Good for them. Good for them. But let's look at the batting averages.
Game 2 will be at about 8 o'clock.
Yeah. I got Aaron Nola in fantasy. Hopefully he shuts him down. Okay. Help me out in fantasy. But anyways, okay, also, quick thing. Taijuan Walker, that guy that was supposed to be really good for Seattle, he's been pretty good for the Mets. Okay? Been pretty good for the Mets. 2.61 ERA. He's actually been pretty good. He's at 8 more strikeouts today. He's been okay. He's been good. But anyways, okay, let's look at Lindor, the big money man. He's batting 150 right now. 150. No home runs, 1 RBI. Okay. Alonso, he got his average now over 200. He's batting 217 now. He had the tying. Oh, because the Phillies actually took the lead in the top of the 8th. And then the Mets tied it on the Alonso single. And then they won it because of Jonathan VR. Okay. So Alonso's batting 217. Still unacceptable. Jeff McNeil, who is like the Mets like hitting machine, he's batting 118. Michael Conforto, who's looking for a big contract, he's batting 130. James McCann, who they signed in the offseason to be their catcher, he's batting 190. I mean, and Kevin Pillar, who they brought in, I mean, he doesn't really play. He's batting 143. I mean, the best hitter on the team right now is Dom Smith. Brandon Nimmo's batting 368. I mean, what's going on, Mets? What are we doing? Why can't you hit? They're another team that struggles with runners in scoring position. I mean, and it's just frustrating because you have the best pitcher in baseball. The best pitcher in baseball. And you can't even give that guy run support. I mean, the other night, Saturday, first of all, DeGrom gives up a home run to Jazz Chisholm Jr. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. I don't even know who that is.
Yep, Jazz Chisholm. You got the pronunciation right.
Wow. All right, look at that. I don't even know who that is. Who is he? I have no idea.
I hardly knew this guy too. I mean, he played in 4 games last year. I think.
I'm looking at it right now. He played in 21 games last year.
Oh,
2 home runs, 6 RBIs, batted 161.
All right, so he played more than I thought.
Yeah, but still, a 161 batting average.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. How do the Mets not give? I mean, Jacob deGrom's career.
This stat line.
Look, nobody cares about wins and the losses in Major League Baseball anymore. It hasn't been about wins for a long time.
It's all about ERA.
Right. And just think if Jacob deGrom was on any better offensive team. So basically just about any team in the league that could actually, hit with runners in scoring position or whatnot. I mean, Jacob deGrom is I forget where the stat was that I saw this. They're the Mets are I think the Mets are 36-42 in deGrom's career starts or whatever.
Right.
Or something like that. Some crazy stat like that. Jacob deGrom is a sub 500 pitcher and he's, got 1.9 career ERA. Oh my gosh. How in the world is he not getting these wins? And it's solely falling on the Mets offense because every time that Jacob deGrom is out on that mound, the Mets are lucky to score 2-3 runs a game. I mean, really, it's really embarrassing because Jacob deGrom is, at least in my opinion, the best pitcher in the league. I think he is for a lot of people. There's really not a
he's 32 already. That's crazy.
Second. It's really disappointing for the Mets to lose close games like that simply because they can't score.
No, they can't. I mean, the highest ERA he's ever had in his career was 3.53 back in 2017. I mean, and you look at his first 2 starts. Of course, there was the opening day start for the Mets. They had that series with the Nationals was canceled because of COVID, so they had to open up in Philadelphia. 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Got taken out after 77 pitches. Why? And then this past start against Miami, gets the loss, throws 8 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned, 14 strikeouts. And you can't get him 1 run. What? What? I mean, that's frustrating. I'm not even a Met fan. And that is so frustrating. And I know my friends that are Met fans are frustrated by this too. I mean, and he doesn't complain about anything. He just goes out there and pitches. He doesn't care. If I was him, I'd be losing my mind right now. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. And and Lindor has been terrible to start the year. Has done nothing. I mean, again, it's still early, but, I mean, come on.
Yeah, he's got to get going.
Show us that you have a pulse.
He's got to get going. You paid that guy $341 million.
Yep.
To bat 150 right now. That's not a good look. Look, I understand. I think I said it last week too, Kenny. Sometimes, the experts, I think, voice that, they're from farther north, going from Florida, the colder weather doesn't get warmer. So, the bats heat up with the summer. Well, it's not really an excuse for that with Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, no.
He's one of the best shortstops in the league.
Yeah.
And batting 150 after you just paid him the next biggest contract probably to Fernando Tatis and Mike Trout. Yeah, it's backfiring right now. He needs to get going.
Well, how do you feel? How do you feel about these big contracts?
Look, understandably, Trout and Tatis absolutely, I think, deserve them. It's a lot. I mean, Tatis 14 years. I don't know about that.
This was what? This is Tatis's what? 3rd year in the MLB?
Yes, third year.
And he's
correct.
hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think the guy that's living up to his contract the best is Trout. And I think there's no
absolutely.
dispute. I think unless you're Mike Trout, you should not be getting these contracts.
And honestly, is this the Angels' year to crack the West and, get into the playoffs somehow?
They look good.
They're off to a really good start.
7-3.
For all of Trout's years out there, Mike Trout's been in the league now, I think, 9-10 years?
Yeah, no.
The Angels haven't done anything.
I think he first came up in 2011.
Okay, 2000. So this would be his 10th year then, I guess, technically.
Yeah, that's incredible.
But for all of the years that he's been out there, the Angels haven't done anything. Nothing.
No, they haven't. They made the playoffs in 2014, and they got swept by the Royals.
Mike Scioscia, thought that he was going to be able to lead a team to the playoffs, and so much for that. Now you got Joe Madden at the helm, who, was a good hire, of course. He was a great replacement pick, and he's definitely got the experience because 2016, Cubs won the World Series behind him.
But what'd they do after that, though?
Yeah, seriously, the Cubs were just one and done.
It's the same thing with the Rays, too.
Yeah, the Cubs.
Not to say he's not a good manager, but
right, right. Yeah, that's right. The Rays. I keep forgetting. What year did Joe Madden leave the Rays? Was it 2013 or 2014? 13, right?
When he left the Rays?
Yeah, when he left Tampa, it must have been 2013.
I off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Definitely around there. Right. Actually, I think it might have been after the 2014 season because I think 2015 was the first year he was the manager for the Cubs. Because the Cubs made it to the championship series, they got swept by the Mets, and then the year after they won I almost said the Super Bowl. They won the World Series.
The Super Bowl. Yeah, well, either way, he's a good skipper, and Shohei Ohtani is just fun to watch, man. Over these opening weeks, he's got, I think, 3 homers. He had a big double yesterday in KC. Shohei Ohtani, he's rare. Pitching and batting. I mean, we've never seen anything like this in Major League Baseball. And, fingers crossed that he just stays healthy because for someone with his talent, when we saw him get injured and he wasn't going to pitch, I hope that, he's in good health for a long time because he's going to be fun to watch and he's already living up to his billing in the league for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know we talked about it. We talked about it last week when there was like that collision at home plate when Joe Madden left him in too long. The White Sox tied the game. He had to cover home plate, and then Abreu slid into him, and Ohtani fell. You got to make sure that you keep him out of harm's way. That game that game was crazy considering the fact. I know we talked about it last week though, but Joe Madden kept him in. Did not take him out yet, even though it was clear that he was laboring, he was tired, and Joe Madden left him in to try to get him out of the inning. And then you got, Rojas taking DeGrom out after 77 pitches when he's still throwing 100 miles per hour. I mean, it's ridiculous. You are ruining the sport. It's ridiculous. But yeah, no, like you said though, Angels are off to a good start. The Astros are right behind them. The A's got off to a really rough start. We're like 0-7, but they've they strung together a couple wins. But I don't know,
they had a tough schedule to start too. Astros and the Dodgers aren't necessarily easy opponents.
No, they're not. But think about it. They keep talking about we want to beat the Astros, and then they just don't. They didn't in the playoffs.
They've rebounded now, though, right? Aren't they 4-7
now? Yeah, they're
now?
4-7. They actually, let's see, they were playing the Diamondbacks. Oh, actually, now they're 5-7. They beat the Diamondbacks. And something crazy.
See, that's baseball, man. Yeah. You start out 0-7, then you win 5 straight. It's the ups and downs.
See, now they look like the A's that we're, accustomed to seeing. But now, so now, what are your thoughts on this? So Jed Lowry, pretty sure he didn't play a single game. Actually, no, he played 9 games for the Mets. Okay. In 2019. Did not play at all in 2020. Now, all of a sudden, he just pops up out of nowhere, and he's batting .333 for the Athletics, and he has 2 home runs and 11 RBIs in 12 games. How does a guy just completely disappear? Seems like he's never going to play again. And then all of a sudden, he's back on the A's, and he's producing, and he's batting over 300.
Yeah, what in the world? Jed Lowry has come back from the dead. I mean, look, this is a guy that played 154 games in 2013, 136 in 2014, and then most recently 153 and 157 in 17 and 18. What does he do on the Mets? He plays in 9 games, has 7 at-bats, and a walk and 4 strikeouts. Didn't record a single hit with the Mets. And all of a sudden now, in 12 games with Oakland this year, he's back out west. He's 14 of 42, which is an even .333, 2 homers, 11 RBIs. Where was this? I mean, look, I understand Jed Lowry was.
I guess he just didn't want to play for the Mets. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, supposedly, he was injured. And it's funny because this was circulating on Twitter, Kenny, like last week at the start of this Jed Lowry streak, because it's his headshot with the Mets and the A's next to each other. And he looks depressed in the Mets headshot. He's like, why am I here? I don't want to be with this terrible.
That's his fault for signing with them.
Yeah, I know. And now he's back in Oakland, and he's happy as can be.
Yeah. So do you think he might have pulled some strings and kind of exaggerated his injuries?
You have to wonder. You really do, because this is one of the craziest rebounds that I've ever seen out of any player in any sport. I mean,
let's see where his statistics are by the end of the year. But yeah, so far
right.
so good.
Right. This is only just a permanent, or excuse me, a temporary phase of the season. Got to go through a lot more games. But yeah, Jed Lowry, where in the world was this with the Mets? He must have been exaggerating those injuries, Kenny, because I haven't seen anything like that. It's a hot start for him. We'll see if he keeps it up.
Yeah, no, it's too bad we don't have Justin here, because he could have gave us a little more insight on that, because I have no idea. Like, how is it you play 9 games with the Mets in 2 years, and then you come out and now you're playing every day, batting over 300? How is that? Like, what? Well, like John always says, that's baseball, Susan. So, another thing we should mention is the fact that on Friday, the San Diego Padres had their first no-hitter in franchise history. Joe Musgrove pitched a no-hitter with 10 strikeouts, no walks, against the I almost said the Houston Texans, the Texas Rangers, in front of a packed stadium. And listen, no hitters happen a lot, and what was crazy though was I was so confused, because I was looking at the stat line and I'm saying to myself, they're saying no hitter, but he has no walks and there was no errors in the game, so why was it not a perfect game? And then I flipped back on the game because I got the T-Mobile subscription for MLB.TV. And on the Rangers broadcast, they said if it wasn't for the Joey Gallo hit by pitch, he'd have a perfect game. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's the reason why he didn't get a perfect game, was because of that. And like we talked about on your show, Ben, Joe Musgrove is another product from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Another guy.
That's right.
Another guy that the Pirates traded. So now you got Charlie Morton, who's out there, and he's had a renaissance of a career. Won that World Series with the Astros. You got Garrett Cole and Jameson Taillon, who are with the Yankees right now. What do the Pirates do? Glass now is with the Rays. I mean, like, you're looking left and right. The Pirates are just dishing out all these prospects, all these guys, and they're turning out to be really good pitchers.
Yeah, it's actually really ironic for a team that, has been really collectively over the last, I don't know, 6-7 years, really not all that good. I think they had one wild card appearance in 2015, I want to say. I think it was around one of those years. But outside of that, Pirates have been really abysmal, especially the last couple of seasons, and it's looking like it's going to be like that again this year for them. They have nobody. But yeah, you give out Garrett Cole, Jameson Taillon now on the Yankees, Joe Musgrove, who we just documented, and speaking of Musgrove, that's really sad in some ways that he was a hit by pitch away from pitching the first perfect game since Felix Hernandez did it in August of 2012. That was the last time we saw it.
That was a long time ago.
And even though no hitters are special on themselves, the fact that perfect games are just a step up, and it's really something special that you don't see all that often in baseball. And I was hoping, because I was looking at the box score. I was like, how in the world was this not a perfect game? Because there were no walks. I just saw
that was the same. Yeah, no, that was the same with me.
So, but very good for Joe Musgrove. And the Padres get their first no-hitter in franchise history. Still looking for the perfect game.
Yeah. Because what was I going to say? I mean, we used to get a perfect game like once a year. I mean, we haven't had one in forever. I mean, now no-hitters, they happen every year. We get at least 2 or 3 a year. But and I think that's kind of like diminished it a little bit, like diminished its like significance a little bit, because now we're accustomed to seeing no hitters so much. We've seen them so much that now they don't have like that. I don't know. At least for me, they don't have like that special meaning like they did back then. I mean, maybe if a perfect game happens, that'll change, because we haven't seen something like that in, like you said, since 2012 with Felix Hernandez. And it was kind of funny because a lot of those perfect games would come against the Rays. You had the Mark Burley perfect game, the Dallas Braden perfect game, the Felix Hernandez perfect game. Those all came against the Rays, which is crazy.
Gosh, I always forget about the Dallas Braden perfect game.
Yep, happened on Mother's Day. Yeah, I think that was 2000. Was that 2000? No, it might have been 2011. I don't remember.
I think you're right.
2011, yeah. Mark Burley was 2010, 2000.
Yes, Mark Burley's, I remember.
Yeah.
Mark Burley's a forgotten pitcher.
Yep.
He was actually really good when he was in the league. Like in his heyday, he was good.
Yeah, in his heyday he was good. After that he was really bad. Was with the Blue Jays for a little bit. I think he was he on that 2015 playoff team? I think. He might have just missed it. I don't know. He might have been. I don't remember.
So I'll look into that.
Yeah. So that's a blast from the past. Anytime you think of guys that you haven't heard in like a long time. I mean, it's crazy to look back on it. I know like a couple weeks ago or like last week I was looking at like forgotten Yankees, and I mean some of the guys in that video, I'm like, wow, I completely forgot about them, that they played for the Yankees.
Yep, 2015. That was Burley's last year at Toronto.
Okay,
yep.
Yeah. So, like I said, when you think of guys that you haven't seen play in a while, it's like it's like wow, and it's a reminder that time flies. But yeah, so no hitters. Padres get their first no hitter in franchise history. And they're off to a good start, collectively as a team. They're right now, I think, 8-3 on the season, I want to say. They are 8-3 on the season. They're half a game behind the Dodgers. So, that race is tight. I mean, it's early, but, these are the two teams that you expected to be fighting for that division come October. I mean, it's going to be quite the thing to see. And also, speaking of the Padres, they are increasing their capacity, I think, from 20 to 33%, which I saw. And that's going to be around the time that they're playing the Dodgers, which that series is coming up, I think, this weekend. Or it's coming up very soon. I'm looking at it right now. So they play the Padres. Yes. Friday is a 3-game set between the Dodgers and the Padres in San Diego. So that's a very enticing 3-game set that's coming up. And that's going to be a matchup that we're, going to be looking forward to see throughout the season because, you got the revamped rotations, good rotations, solid rotations on each side, and the lineups are really good. So, let's see what happens. I mean, the Padres got something to prove because, the Dodgers, for the most part, have their number. But maybe this is the year that the Padres, put it all together and we got a new team out west. I mean, I know me and Ben both picked LA to make it to the World Series, and one of us picked them to win the World Series over our team. So
come on, Kenny, why'd you do that?
I had to.
No, that was me, folks. No, but seriously, the Padres, they're really, like, overall, they're a pretty well-balanced team. And call me crazy. I mean, they're not going to win the NL West, but I think there's a shot that they can give a run at the Dodgers potentially and maybe, end up being 3-4 games back. I mean, at the most. I don't know. I really think that the Padres might keep the NL West a little bit closer than people might think. I mean, the Dodgers are so good. I mean, they're 8-2 already to start the year. Their offense, their pitching, there's really no blemishes when you look at that team top to bottom. But the Padres are really, making a stand in the NL West, and it'll be interesting to see, how they keep it up. I don't know how long Tatis is going to be out, but hopefully not long. And I think the Padres are going to be a really nice team this year, and I'm pretty sure they're 6-3 to this point. So we'll see what happens with them. It should be.
Yeah, they're 8-3 at this point. But yeah, no, they're really off to a great start. And it's gonna like you said, it's gonna be a tight race. And
yeah, and honestly, Padres Dodgers, that could be some must watch TV. I mean, we're going to see some good matchups between those two teams. And actually, they play each other the first time this weekend in San Diego. So it'll be in front of fans there. 3-game set this weekend.
Yep. It's going to – listen, it should be a great series. I don't think they don't have the matchups out yet, but
No.
But I'm sure they're all going to be really good. So, all right, so with that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about, I don't know, I guess we'll touch upon the Masters. We'll talk about Julian Edelman, his retirement. We'll get into some NBA stuff with, we'll talk about the Knicks, the Nets. We'll bounce around a little bit. Talk about the impact that the Nuggets, the impact of Jamal Murray's injury, point guard for the Nuggets, what that's going to mean for the Nuggets. And we'll get into a bunch of, we ramble. So before we do that, my co-host will do his Sports Minute update, and then that will take us right into the break. So I'm going to give it on over to Ben. So, Ben, take it away with the Sports Minute.
Yes, indeed, Kenny. It is just about top of the hour, 8 o'clock, which means it's time for the hourly Sports Minute. And, I can hear myself.
All right. Okay. All right. So to not create a distraction, I'll keep my mic on.
Yeah, all good. All right. So yeah, let's hourly Sports Minute. We'll start with Major League Baseball tonight. Yankees falling apart, bottom of the third inning. They're down 3-0 now to the Blue Jays. Pirates up on the Padres 5-3, bottom of the second. Rays 2-1 over the Rangers, bottom of the third. Mariners Orioles game 2 of a doubleheader, top of the third. Mariners had the bases loaded, 1 out, no score there. Marlins and the Braves even at 3, top of the second. Cubs Brewers just getting started, top of the second. And Cardinals 1-0 over the Nationals, bottom of the first. And coming up shortly, Phillies Mets. You can catch that game on ESPN, game 2 of a doubleheader. Also, Angels Royals, Indians White Sox, Tigers Astros, Reds Giants, and Rockies Dodgers. In the National Hockey League, the Rangers and the Devils, start of 4 consecutive matchups between these teams. Rangers lead 1-0. They just started the second period. Sabres and the Bruins tied at 1 after the first period. Capitals blowing the doors in on the Flyers early, 4-1 at the end of the first. Flames and the Maple Leafs tied at 1, and coming up shortly, Lightning, Predators, and Panthers Stars. And then finally in the NBA tonight, TNT doubleheader, Clippers and the Pacers. You can catch that game right now. 16-12, Clippers lead midway through the first quarter. Hawks a narrow 3-point lead, 20-17 over the Raptors as they're getting near the end of the first quarter. Later tonight, Lakers, Hornets, Thunder, Jazz, Heat, Suns, and you can catch Celtics, Trailblazers on TNT at 10 o'clock. And, of course, earlier today, Nets, Timberwolves, Kevin Durant had 31 points, Joe Harris 23. And that is your Hourly Sports Minute. We'll be back on Infinite Sports Radio.
All right, and we are back here on Infinite Sports Radio for hour number 2 of our radio program. We got a lot to, we're going to jump around a lot this last hour of the show. So first thing I want to get into is the Masters. Now, you know, we typically haven't covered golf on my show, but I know Ben's a huge golf guy, and I know he definitely watched the Masters when it occurred. So to give a little background, so the winner of the Masters tournament was Hideki Matsuyama. Now, one thing that I said after the tournament was if you take out the Yama part of his last name and you put in an I, it's Hideki Matsui. So there you go. There's a little joke in there. So Matsuyama won the Masters, finishing 10 under par and winning by 1 stroke. And this is a guy that's from Japan, so you know everybody that was over in Japan was watching that, and apparently it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, so he was the winner of the Masters, and he becomes the 9th different Masters winner in the last 9 years. And yeah, he's in the history book. So Ben, to give you the floor for this, because you're the big golf guy, what were your takeaways from this Masters tournament this past weekend?
I'm sorry, Kenny. Look, it's not your fault, man. You said when you said Hideki Matsuyama, I just lost it.
Why? Is that not how it's pronounced?
No, it is Hideki Matsuyama.
Ah, yes. Okay, so I can't read.
Matsuyama. That was funny. I'm sorry. Okay. Woo. Yeah, let's regain our composure here.
Wait, how is it pronounced?
It is Hideki Matsuyama.
Well, nah. I mean, it could have been a lot worse, but yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Still, Matsuyama just sounded so funny. I don't know why I lost it there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go. So, of course, yeah, the Masters returned to its traditional April date this year. Of course, the second one in 5 months because of the coronavirus that is still going on, of course. Of course, it's great to see it back in April. It's where it belongs. Of course, in November, Dustin Johnson won the 2020 edition. He shot 21 under par, which was a course record at Augusta National. And this year, it went right back to its traditional, difficulty that we see. And not to discredit DJ from last November's win, but I don't think there's any way that he would have shot a minus 21 in April last year if that's when the tournament was going to be. Now, I mean, we've seen, 14, 15, I think, before at Augusta in April. But that, of course, was the one and only Masters that we didn't see in April just because of the pandemic. So, but overall, this was actually a really exciting tournament for the most part. Now, I mean, on Sunday, specifically the final round, it wasn't as close as it perhaps could have been, but it definitely got interesting toward the end. But some of the headlines throughout the 4 days, though, Justin Rose, who ultimately finished in 7th place by himself at 5 under par, a really great round on day one of the Masters. He I clicked on Patrick Reed's scorecard. Whoops. So yeah, Justin Rose in round 1 on Thursday shot a 7 under for a total of 65, including a 30 on the back 9, 6 under par. This guy he started 2 over for the tournament through his first 7 holes. And then for the last 11, he shot 9 under par. Incredible. Really, what a week for him at Augusta. He, of course, led after round 1 and round 2, I believe, before he lost the lead over the weekend. So, yeah, he had a great round on Thursday to open the week, set the tone. Definitely a fantastic week for Will Zalatoris, the 24-year-old who competed in his first Masters tournament. Just 24 years old. He gained late entry in here too because of his top 50 world ranking, and he finished second this weekend. And for your first Masters, shout out to this kid because he had one heck of a week, one that he'll probably never forget. And on the week, shot a 70, 68, 71, and 70. Which is very good. So well done to Will Zalatoris. 16 months before this, he didn't have any membership on the PGA Tour, nothing. And then in 2020, when he really tore through the Korn Ferry Tour, which is basically the developmental league for golf. So think of it as the minor leagues for golf, before you get called up to the PGA Tour. So he won the Korn Ferry Tour, got his full PGA Tour card, and here he is. He's in for a really good career, I think, down the road. He's got a great game, and he looked great this past weekend, so shout out to him. Jordan Spieth, of course, who won the Valero Texas Open just the weekend before, had a great showing at Augusta, finished in a tied for third with Xander Schauffele, so 2 fellow Americans. Jordan Spieth is back. He's really found his game this 2020-21 season. And he's definitely had a pretty successful year on the tour so far. Patrick Reed also finishing in the top 10 at 4 under. Jon Rahm shot a 66 on Sunday, the lowest round on the course by far. He found some success on Sunday. Unfortunately, a really subpar round for him on Friday and Saturday, where he shot 72s both days, so even par. That's not going to, unfortunately, move you up much. If he had a better round one of those 2 days, the storyline might have been different this weekend. But what a finish. He went from tied for 21st at the beginning of Sunday to being tied for 5th. He finished at 6 under for the tournament. And otherwise, some big names that missed the cut in this year's Masters included former champions Sergio Garcia, Dustin Johnson, who I mentioned just won it last year, Brooks Koepka. It was a miracle that he was even out there to begin with. He just had surgery 3-4 weeks ago, and he was hobbling around a little bit down some of the steep slopes at Augusta. So great to see him out there, but he missed the cut. Also, Lee Westwood, who's had a really good year on tour. Patrick Cantlay, that was surprising. Former champion Jason Day. And, of course, good to see some of the old guys back out there, but they didn't make the weekend, including former champions Fred Couples, Larry Mize, and Vijay Singh. Of course, if you win the Masters, you have lifetime access to get back into the tournament. You don't have to get invited back. You're automatically allowed to come back if you want. So you could be 60, 65 years old like Larry Mize, and you can still come every single year. I've always liked that rule. Your full leaderboard, though, of course, Hideki Matsuyama won this tournament at 10 under. Will Zalatoris in second at 9 under. Jordan Spieth and Xander Schauffele tied for third at -7. Jon Rahm, Mark Leishman tied for fifth at -6. Justin Rose -5 and seventh. Patrick Reed and Corey Connors -4 to round out the top 10. And other notables, Colin Morikawa -1 for the tournament. Phil Mickelson finished at even par, so did Justin Thomas and Victor Hovland. Bubba Watson +1. Christian Bezuidenhout, wow, good weekend for him, +4. Not really, but I don't know why I just said that. Bryson DeChambeau +5. definitely a bad showing for Bryson. Thought he would have really tore up this golf course with his massive driver. But really, those are your notables there, finishing from the Masters. But yeah, really to touch on the champion, Hideki Matsuyama, incredible, carrying the weight of Japan on his back, as we heard 8,000 times by Jim Nantz and the CBS golf crew on Sunday. They kept saying it, but it's true. I mean, the first ever male Japanese golfer to win a major, let alone lead any round in a major, because he held a 4-shot lead after Saturday. And that weather delay on Saturday helped him out too, because he hit a terrible tee shot off the 11th hole, and out of the weather delay, no problem. Hideki really turned it on the back nine at Augusta on Saturday, and it really made the difference. And if he didn't have that 4-shot lead going into Sunday, who knows, because things got tight. But out of that weather delay, Hideki Matsuyama ended up shooting 6 under on his final 8 holes. Impressive, Hideki. And then in the final round, he stayed put, for the most part, held about a 2-3 shot lead for almost the entirety of the front 9. But things got a little interesting on the back 9. He got it up to as much as a 5-shot lead, I think, after the 11th hole. Bogeyed at 12 to get it back to 4, and got a birdie at 13 with Xander Schauffele, who was playing with him. But things got interesting, because at the 15th hole, he cooked a shot over the 15th green, went down the bank into the water. And thank goodness it was a par 5, because that could have been really bad for Hideki. He really did sizzle that shot over the back of the green. So that was a problem for him. Luckily, Xander Schauffele did birdie at the 15th too, so he cut it to a 2-shot deficit with 3 holes left. So you were thinking, okay, there's a small chance maybe, but Xander Schauffele got too cute at the short par 3 16th hole. And of course, really good shot for a birdie on that hole. But Xander took an aggressive line, and himself, he hit it in the water, which was a huge mistake. He walked away with a triple bogey at 16, and Hideki Matsuyama basically had the green jacket in hand after that happened. And he ultimately only won the tournament by 1 shot, but you know what? It doesn't matter, because all you got to do is win it. And that's what Hideki Matsuyama did. His 6th career PGA Tour win and his first Masters title at the age of 29, and hopefully he's got more coming for him. Really a fantastic storyline for the country of Japan, for the game of golf itself, and another great weekend at the Masters, really. So Hideki Matsuyama, your 2021 champion, and of course they will return to Augusta. I believe the dates next year are April 7th through the 10th in 2022.
So now, where would you rank this Masters tournament among like your Masters experiences of watching it?
Well, out of the ones I've seen, I'm pretty sure the first one that I remember watching every day of the coverage was 2015, when Jordan Spieth was actually in his heyday. He was so good. He won the Masters in 2015. He was only 21 years old. Now, of course, 27. That was definitely up there for, I think, one of the best Masters, but nothing tops Tiger Woods in 2019. Nobody at all in the game of golf expected Tiger to ever win another major, and the fact that he did it at Augusta in 2019 was a Sunday that we'll never forget. And really, I'm just glad I could see him in person win a major, because his last major win, I believe, was, I think it was the 2008 U.S. Open. I think I got the year wrong, but something in the mid to late 2000s was his last major win. And it's really special that Tiger Woods did that. So that's definitely my all-time. Hideki's win was special. I'd say this was overall a good Masters tournament. It wasn't as exciting as we've seen in the past. But overall, Kenny, I think this goes up there toward the top out of the last, 7 tournaments now that I've seen. And yeah, the other storylines though, Xander Schauffele continues to really do well in majors. He's got multiple top 10 finishes. And as I said, he had a shot to actually be in contention to win this thing, but that water shot at 16 killed his chances. But, he's due for one really soon, I think. And Will Zalatoris, if that was anything to see, he's already had a really good tour season. And the fact that as a 24-year-old playing in his first Masters, finished second by himself, the first time anyone finished second alone at the Masters since 1982. So that's almost 40 years. So Will Zalatoris, I think we're going to see a lot of him at major tournaments, if not now, down the road, because he's only 24 years old. But really, Hideki's win was something special for the game of golf and for Japan as an entire country. All the eyes were on Hideki this past weekend, and he's got his own green jacket now, and he'll be bringing it back with him to Augusta in 2022. So to get back to your main question, though, Kenny, to wrap it up, it was a really good Masters tournament. I wouldn't say it was excellent, but of course, it is definitely, I think, in my opinion, the most beautiful golf course in the world, and the Masters is the tournament of the year. And as Jim Nantz loves to say, it is a tradition unlike any other. Hello, friends. So that is your typical Jim Nantz expression there. So as always, though, it never fails to impress in the end. So I'll be looking forward to next year's already. And we just finished this one. So
yeah, you don't want to rush it, though. You definitely don't want to rush it. But like I was telling Johnny the other day, how cool is it for Jim Nantz this year? He called the Super Bowl, the national championship, and the Masters. I mean, the guy is awesome. He keeps himself busy.
Yeah, and don't worry, you're going to see plenty more of Jim because CBS has the PGA Tour as well. Now that they go back to their tour circuit on golf. So you'll hear Jim Nantz calling golf on CBS for, I think, the next 5 or 6 weeks that they have the next tournaments.
Yeah, so we can't get enough of Jim Nantz, and that's fine with me because Jim Nantz is definitely up there as one of the best broadcasters of all time and right now. So and he's going strong. So yeah, so that's Ben's thoughts on the Masters. And it was historic. Having a player from Japan win the tournament, it's something special. So yeah, that's a little bit of golf for today. We changed it up a little bit. So kind of like I said, we were going to jump around a little bit. So kind of go into some football stuff, some signings that happened over the course of the last couple of days. So Giovanni Bernard, the longtime Bengals running back, signed a undisclosed contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, the Bucs again are adding veteran players to come play for them so they can go at another Super Bowl title again. Great, just great. I mean, not that this makes like a huge difference. I don't think this, makes Tampa so much better. I mean, they can't really. I mean, they could definitely improve, of course, but I mean, I don't think Giovanni Bernard, him going there is going to elevate them to, immortality. But it's a nice signing. Definitely a change of pace when it comes to the running back position because they do have Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette there, but they're not really receiving running backs like Giovanni Bernard is. So, PPR master in fantasy, Giovanni Bernard. Maybe he's gonna be a fantasy sleeper this year. Who knows? And then another running back, the former running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, James Conner, signed a 1-year contract with the Arizona Cardinals. He's coming off a very, down year for the Steelers. He did have that breakout season back in 2018 when he was when Le'Veon Bell was sitting out, but he really hasn't looked good the last 2 years and also has been injured. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Cardinals do there with him and Chase Edmonds, how they're going to divide up, the running back spot there, how they're going to split carries and whatever. I mean, I thought Chase Edmonds was going to end up being that guy, be that number one back, but I guess the Cardinals felt they needed to get somebody else in there as well, get somebody else in that running back room. So yeah, James Conner is heading out west to Arizona. But the big football story here that I wanted to talk about is the longtime wide receiver for the New England Patriots, Julian Edelman, will be retiring after 12 seasons in the NFL with the New England Patriots. And obviously, if you know who Julian Edelman is, you know, he was amazing in the playoffs for the Patriots. He was that go-to guy. He was Tom Brady's top target for many years, you know, and he was the guy that took over for Wes Welker when Wes Welker left to go to Denver. And, yeah, I mean, looking at some of the statistics, Edelman had 1,000-plus yards receiving yards, 3 1,000-yard seasons. Finished his career with just under 7,000 yards receiving. And, yeah, he was a star in the playoffs. He really was. I mean, I remember that AFC Championship game, which was probably one of the best games I've probably ever seen, you know, Brady play. I mean, every third down, Edelman was there. I mean, he made that big catch in the Super Bowl against the Falcons, that crazy catch. He was clutching the Super Bowl against the Seahawks. He caught the go-ahead touchdown that put the Patriots up by 4, I think, 28-24 in that Super Bowl. And then, of course, he was the MVP in the Super Bowl a couple years ago against the Rams. Yeah, he was incredible. He really was. Now, is he a Hall of Famer? I mean, I think he is. I think how we define a Hall of Famer, I mean, there's a lot of controversy over who's a Hall of Famer and who's not. I mean, for me, the guy was a key contributor to the Patriots' success, you know, and he was Tom Brady's top target. I mean, he made a lot of big plays when he needed to. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, it's hard to argue. I mean, I shouldn't say it's hard to argue that he's not a Hall of Famer. I think he is. But it's kind of unfortunate that his career ended because, you know, it was going to happen eventually. You know, the injuries did catch up to him because, yeah, I mean, the guy is one of the toughest players in the league, I think. I mean, that guy got banged around so many times. I mean, like I said, that championship game against the Chiefs, every third down he caught, he got knocked down. You know, he got knocked out. So, you know, like, that's what happens when you play football. I mean, this sport really does wear you down. And, you know, now he can take this time to spend time with his family and decide what he wants to do for the next chapter of his life. So, you know, good luck in retirement, and, you know, wish him nothing but the best. Now, when he got released by the Patriots first, and it was because of they said it was a failed physical, but it was most likely he was going to retire. In my mind, I'm thinking he's going to go to Tampa now and play with Brady, isn't he? You know, but that wasn't the case. And you know what? Listen, his body's broken down. Let him go enjoy life. Because, you know, sometimes these players, they get beat up so much, you know, they can't even enjoy life outside of football because of the toll that the game has taken on their bodies. But, you know what? I think Edelman will get himself right. And you know what? Let's see what he does with the next chapter of his life.
Yeah, good. You know, good to reflect back on Julian Edelman's career. I actually forgot that he was in the league for 11 years because it doesn't really feel like it. It's been that long. And look, trying to pull up his stats if I could get there. I hate pop-ups. Of course, we'll remember in Super Bowl 51 where he got that crazy shoestring catch. That was definitely one of his career highlight moments there for sure. And really one of Brady's primary targets between 2013 and 2019 at the wide receiving core. So like looking back at his stats, he had 1,000 receiving yards in the 2016 and 2019 seasons with the Patriots, and also 100 receptions, close to it for both of those years. Not a lot of touchdowns necessarily, 6 touchdowns and 3 in those 2 years, but he definitely got the receptions and the yards. Of course, Brady loved to connect with Gronk in the end zone. That was one of his primary red zone targets, and that's why they got a lot of connections with each other. But it doesn't matter. Julian Edelman was still really a big part of the Patriots' success in Foxborough. And look, he's definitely no. He's no like between like Wes Welker versus him. I still think you got to give it to Welker. I think, at least in my opinion. But Julian Edelman definitely did do a lot for this team, and he won a couple of championships. Something that I forget how many Wes Welker actually ended up winning.
Wes Welker never won any.
Oh, that's right. He didn't win any.
Yeah, I mean, he had that drop in the Super Bowl against the Giants the second time around. And he was on the 07 team, I believe, but
that's right. Yeah. So
he was in the Super Bowl with the Broncos when they got throttled by Seattle, but he never won one.
That's right. The Super Bowl 48, good Lord, one of the worst ones of all time. So yeah, no, Julian Edelman's got the upper hand on him there for titles. He was with the Patriots in their good years here in the 2010s. But I mean, really, just a great guy. Did a lot for the organization, and he cared about the sport. I think he loved playing it too, and definitely short and speedy. That's what I think we'll remember Edelman for too. 5'10", 198 pounds. So he had that speed, and he could definitely catch the ball in some tight windows too. And like I said, what that career highlight moment was the catch during the Falcons game in Super Bowl. That was amazing, really. So you know what? He is going to be missed, especially by Patriots fans and by fans of the league too. It'll be different not seeing him on Sundays starting this fall, but we'll remember Julian for all that he did and wish him the best of luck in retirement.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the NFL is losing a good one. It stinks when players retire. It really does. But, like I said, it's a tough sport. And, he was, like I said, I think he was one of the toughest players in the NFL. I really do. I mean, he got banged around so much. And he just finally couldn't do it. Couldn't do it anymore. He didn't play that much in 2020. Had that one game against Seattle where he just went off. But, that was it. And, like we said, wish him a good retirement. So with about less than a half hour left in the show, let's get into the NBA because, we really haven't talked about it that much. So two big injuries, actually. Another injury I forgot about. So James Wiseman, the center for the Warriors, he was diagnosed with a torn meniscus in his right knee, and it's possible he is going to miss the rest of the season. He's averaged 11.5 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game through 39 games. That's a tough loss for the Warriors. But then the bigger loss was for the Nuggets. Jamal Murray, their point guard, tore his ACL. He's going to miss the rest of the season. This season was averaging 21.2 points per game, 4 rebounds, 4.8 assists per game. I mean, that's a really tough loss for the Nuggets, especially for where the Nuggets want to go. I mean, this is a team that, came back from 2 3-1 deficits last year in the bubble between the Jazz and the Clippers, and then of course they did lose to they lost to the Lakers ultimately, but it's really a tough loss for the Nuggets. I mean, right now they're sitting 4th in the Western Conference. They're 6 games back of the number 1 seed. Ben, what do you think? Do you think that guys are going to be able to step up? You think Jokic can carry the load and maybe the Nuggets are able to continue their success, or is this going to be one of those injuries where they kind of just fall off a cliff?
Well, I'll say that this is really, a pretty harmful one for Denver. Jamal Murray is one of their primary offensive producers, and without him, it's going to be tough. It really is. Look, and the Nuggets in general, I mean, they're in a good spot right now in the West. If you look at overall the big picture right now, because they're in 4th place still. They've been there for a couple of weeks now, I think. 34-20. This team is really on a roll too, because they won so many games during the month of March, and even tracing back to February, the end of February, when they really turned it on. Because I'm pretty sure at one point this team, let's see, they started, what were they? They were 17 and 15. 17 and 15. So since then, they've gone 17 and 5, which is really impressive, all things considered. And that's the thing with the NBA. It's all about how much of a run you can put together. Because again, this is another thing where it's not necessarily a sprint. It's more of a marathon. Of course, nothing on the magnitude of baseball, but you still got 82 games. It's a long season. And with the way that these games have been condensed this year, these schedules have been shifted around. I know recently too, there's been a lot of hypocrisy, excuse me, about the play-in tournament, because of course the NBA plans to have the 7, 8, 9, and 10 seeds play a couple games before the actual start of the playoffs, and that's really been put in the spotlight now. Some players are coming out against that, specifically Luka Doncic earlier today. But Jamal Murray, the big deal is a big deal for the Nuggets, because Nikola Jokic is really putting up MVP numbers for this team this year. I mean, he's unbelievable. 26.2 points per game, 10.9 rebounds, 8.8 assists. He's really had a fantastic year. Loved watching him. But as for Jamal Murray, he's right up there too, among the best players on this team, right next to Jokic, I'd say, because he averages himself 21 points a game, 4 rebounds, and about 5 assists. He has the ability to have some big scoring nights, and one of the main producers. Like I said, if it weren't for him, I don't know if the Nuggets, I don't think they would have gone 17 and 5 in this stretch. No way. He always seems to come up in the clutch too. He seems like a clutch shooter down the stretch. And look, it's going to be tough now for the Nuggets. They're going to have to find a way, to incorporate more of Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon. Of course, the Nuggets have. I don't know if they've lost a game actually since Aaron Gordon was traded there. They got to get him more involved. Will Barton's got to step up to the plate. So there's the surrounding players that really have to step up now that Jamal Murray is out the rest of the year, because an ACL injury, this is very significant. So, hopefully,
he might miss part of next season.
Yes, that's right. So hopefully, for all things considered, we can see Jamal Murray, back on the court to start next year. And I want to see the Nuggets get into the playoffs too. I really think they should.
How many games are left? There's not that much.
Every team has about 17, 18 games left. Something like that. So definitely, I would still like to see the Nuggets get in the playoffs. I think they will. They have such a big lead on the bottom half. They have a 4 or 5 game cushion between the Grizzlies and the Mavericks. So I think we're gonna see them get into the playoffs. I wonder how far they'll go without Jamal Murray. It will be interesting to see how it affects the team going forward. And the West is highly competitive this year, because you got the Jazz, Suns, and Clippers all above you, who are having phenomenal seasons.
And don't sleep the Lakers below you.
Yeah, don't sleep on the Lakers either, because once LeBron and AD come back, this team is definitely, I think, in my opinion, in contention to get to an NBA Finals again.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, when you add those two guys back, I mean, that's like getting big trade acquisitions at the deadline. I mean, this team is so much different without those two guys. So, I mean, they're still going to make the playoffs, the Lakers. I mean, I don't think there's enough time for them to just completely fall off a cliff. I mean, it's a completely different story when you look at, the Eastern Conference, and I feel like we always talk about it. The Eastern Conference is always top heavy. I mean, especially this year. I mean, you got the Sixers and the Nets both tied for the number 1 seed, and then you got the Bucks are 3.5 games back, and then after that, it's a huge drop off. You got the Hawks who are 8 games out of first place in the conference standings, and then everybody else is just jammed up. The Hornets, the Celtics, and the Knicks are all, right around each other. The Heat. It's a completely different conference as opposed to the Western Conference. I mean, the Knicks have been playing better. They struggled a little bit the last couple games, but now they've strung together 3 straight wins. Most recently, the one against the Knicks. Most recently against the Lakers. So the Knicks, they find themselves back over 500, a game over 500. Right now, they're currently the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference standings. Ben, what would you say with the Knicks right now? What is it? What do you think what's your current assessment of them as a team right now?
Well, I think right now you got to be really pleased, especially with this last week, because the Knicks have really shown up in these games that they really need to win. Because, again, hate to keep looking down the road, but the Knicks actually have a difficult stretch in the last weeks of the season. And it's not going to get any easier. And they're I'll say they're in a fairly comfortable position to, make a run at a playoff spot. They have a strong hold on the 8th seed right now in the East. And, of course, the Bulls are 5 games behind, and they're the 10 seed to get into the play-in. And now, obviously, for the Knicks, you obviously want to be the 7 or the 8 seed in the East because, a play-in in the play-in tournament, how it's going to work is that the 7 and 8 seeds will only have to win 1 game, and if you're the 9 or the 10 seed, you have to win twice to get in to the playoffs. So, obviously, you want to be there in that 7 or 8 spot. But, it's like the studio guys were talking last night on MSG. It is not at all out of the question for the Knicks to make a run as high as the 5th seed because they're a game and a half out of 4th and a game out of 5th. So the East is really packed together from the 4 spot to the 8 spot. And it's going to be interesting coming down the stretch as we're in the final quarter of the regular season, who's going to win these close games and who's going to lose. And especially in these head-to-heads. So, I know for a fact that the Knicks have some big matchups coming against the Hawks and the Hornets very soon. And in May, you got to face close teams like the Celtics, Hornets, and the Spurs. So those are going to be big games coming down the stretch for the Knicks. And look, you got the Pelicans twice here in the next 5 days. Tomorrow in New Orleans and then Sunday at the Garden. And you got a Friday night ESPN date with the Mavericks going to KP's land and Luka down in Dallas. But very impressed, though, overall right now. The Knicks defense last night, especially against the Lakers, was really sharp. Definitely, I don't think they were as impressive against the Raptors. They really kind of fell apart in that game. They did enough to win, though. They won by 6. And that overtime win against the Grizzlies this past weekend was electric. Oh, that was an incredible game. The Knicks were down 13 with 6 minutes left, and they fought hard to tie it up, send it to overtime, where they would ultimately win the game. So, and of course, Julius Randle keeps doing what he's been doing all year, and that is scoring, averaging 23 points this season, 10.7 rebounds and 6 assists. In this stretch that the Knicks have won 3 straight games, he has 15, 26, and 34. So last night really showed off against the Lakers. RJ Barrett, he's had a much better season as well for the Knicks, and they've needed it. He looked to be a really inconsistent player early on, but now he's found his stride. He's got 20 and 19 over the weekend against Toronto and Memphis. Not a big night last night against the Lakers. Very poor shooting night with only 7 points, but he's definitely shown signs of improvement all season long, and he's developed a jump shot, which is crucial. Alec Burks and Emmanuel Quickley continue to be key contributors off the bench as well. They combined for 39 points after that Grizzlies win. And, they've just been a nice duo to have off the bench when the Knicks have to sub out for whether it's Reggie, RJ, any of the starters.
Yeah, Quickly's really turned out to be a steal from this past draft.
Yeah, absolutely. And very good to see him be a key contributor off the bench for the Knicks for sure. But yeah, Kenny, this is a big stretch coming up for the Knicks because these are 2 winnable games against the Pelicans. The Mavericks game Friday night, that's going to be tricky. But like I said, next week, you got 2 big games for a position in the East, the Hornets and the Hawks. Now, they're both at the Garden, which plays to the Knicks' advantage. But they're going to have to win at least one of those 2, if not both. And I think they'll really solidify their position in the East and be on the road to becoming a playoff team if they're able to get wins like that and the wins that they can get. Because, unfortunately, the Knicks have been in a lot of close games. It was really painful last week losing to the Nets by 2, the Celtics by 2, and then it took overtime to beat the Grizzlies. It was a tricky week. But now the Knicks have won 3 straight. They've put those bumps in the road behind them, at least temporarily, and it's on to the next one. That's what your mentality is. And even Tom Thibodeau said after the game, we're just finding ways. And right about now, that's, I think, all you need. And I never thought I'd be saying this, Kenny, but the Knicks are 28 and 27, and they're back above 500. And we only have a month left in the season. Never thought I'd be saying.
I mean, the way they've played the last couple of years, the records they would have at this point in the season, the last couple of years, it would be a lot worse than what it is. I mean, they wouldn't be sniffing 500 at all, but there was a little bit of concern, I think, coming back from the All-Star break. They were not playing like they were in the first half, but then, they've gotten together. They've gotten guys back. Derrick Rose came back, and he was a good addition for them. They got him in that trade. Mitchell Robinson, he's out again, I believe, right? That's correct. Mitchell Robinson is out again for the Knicks.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right. He's been out now, I think, I want to say 3 weeks with that fractured foot.
Yeah. But he did come back, though. And then he got hurt from another injury, and then he got hurt.
Yes, the most recent one was the fractured foot.
Yeah.
I forget what it was that he came back from that he injured in February. I'm not sure. Oh, he had a broken hand. That's right.
Okay.
So a broken hand, and now he's got a fractured right foot, and that's what. Broken right foot. So
yeah, so that's definitely going to take
that hurts. That hurts the Knicks a little bit at 7. That's why we've seen Nerlens Noel out there with Taj Gibson and who's yet? Obi Toppin as well,
right,
getting some more bench minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Mitch hasn't played since March 27th. I'm not 100% sure if he's able to return later this season. I doubt it though. It doesn't seem like he would be able to, but you know what? You just got to look right now and say that the Knicks are in a pretty good position, all things considered.
There's no question about it. No question.
Yeah, hopefully they keep it up. They got 17 games left. I think with the schedule that the Knicks have left, the opportunity is there. I think they can win 6, 7. It's going to be tough in May, but I think the Knicks are capable of winning at least 7 or 8 of these games left on their schedule. If they could go 8-9, 9-8, something like that, I think that'll be just enough to keep them at about the 7 or 8 seed. And I really think that they are going to make the playoffs, whether it's the play-in tournament or getting locked into a first-round series. We don't know yet. I think likely a play-in, but like I said, the East is so bunched. So we'll have to see what happens. But New York basketball, man, you gotta be hyped for it.
New
right
York
now.
sports, like we always talk about in general,
and the fans at the are loving it. So
yeah, I mean the people that run the Garden, that's a different story. But yeah, no, it's great to have fans back. New York sports, we're making a comeback, baby. We're making a comeback. It's about time. It's about time. I mean, you look at the Knicks, like the teams that they're sitting around, the Celtics, the Pacers, the Bulls. The Knicks match up well against these teams. Now, the Celtics, I don't know how they're only 2 games over 500. I mean, they should be performing at a much better level. I mean, with the talent that they have on this team. I mean, you had Tatum dropping 53 points the other night. I mean, this team is capable of playing a lot better than what its record shows right now. And the fact that they are sitting at the 7th seed and are only 2 games over 500, I mean, that's pathetic. And you wonder, could Brad Stevens be on his way out? I mean, I don't really know. I mean, they should be performing at a much higher level than this. But yeah, like I said, the teams that the Knicks are hovering around, the Pacers, the Bulls, I mean, I think the Knicks, if it comes to them having to play these guys, these teams in the play-in tournament, I think the Knicks can win. I definitely do.
You're right though, Kenny, about the Celtics underperforming. They should not be a 28-26 ball club.
Absolutely
I'll tell you that. And definitely, I think some of their low points. Obviously, they lost. What game was it? Oh yeah, they lost a really sloppy one to the Cavs back in the middle of March. They lost to the Kings, lost to the Grizzlies in overtime. That stretch in the middle of March was really bad, really bad. They struggled to find any sense of rhythm and consistency, and they are starting to piece it together now. Obviously, most recently, like I said, a close one against the Knicks last week. It took overtime to get it done against the T-Wolves. That game, Jason Tatum dropped 53, like you said. And then a nice big win against the Nuggets on Sunday. So, like I said, later tonight on TNT, they're playing the Trailblazers. So that's going to be a close one. And this is their West Coast swing, so to speak, because they were on the road for the Nuggets game, Blazers tonight, and then at the Lakers Thursday, and they caught them again at a good time, just like the Knicks, because no AD and no LeBron. So we'll see what happens. But that they have a tricky schedule coming up themselves, honestly. You got 2 against the Hornets, you got the Suns at TD Garden, you got to go back to Brooklyn to face the Nets, who may be healthier in 10 days' time, who knows. And then coming down the stretch in May, a favorable schedule, I'll say that. You got a couple against the Heat, the T-Wolves, the Knicks, the Cavs. So it's favorable coming down the stretch. I think that the Celtics are going to get in the playoffs.
They definitely should. There's no way they're going to miss the playoffs. I mean, yeah, they've underperformed, but I mean, if they miss the playoffs, I mean, then Brad Stevens should definitely be fired.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, even if they do make the playoffs, Brad Stevens' job's not in danger. I think no matter what the Celtics do this season. But it would be crazy if they do blow it and miss the playoffs somehow, which they won't. They really won't.
No,
they shouldn't.
No.
Brad Stevens' job should be safe going into next season. But we'll see what happens. This was a team I think a lot of people expected to be, back in the top 3 this year in the East. And they're not living up to that right now. And I think they're a team that was capable of doing that. And now look, again, it is so tight in the East. They're the 7th seed, and they're a game behind 4th, which is the Atlanta Hawks, who are actually playing right now against Toronto. But one thing that's for sure, Kenny, nobody's touching the top three because it's the Sixers, Nets, and Bucks.
No.
it's going to turn out like that no matter what. I think the Nets will jump the Sixers, but yeah, nobody's touching those top three in the East. Nobody.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. So I mean, it is going to come down to probably those teams, the Bucks, the Nets, and the Sixers. I mean, with the Nets, their stars just they don't play. They don't play for whatever reason. I mean, they just it's always something with these guys, with Harden, Kyrie, and KD. I mean, when are we ever going to see all three of them play together? I mean, it hasn't happened. I mean, they're going to be fine come playoff time, I think. But it's just like, they should play a couple of games before we get to the playoffs so they can, gel. I mean, I don't get what the problem is.
Yeah, and look, Kyrie supposedly is observing Ramadan from what I've read in the news today. So that's going on, I think, this week. So I guess it's understandable why he's not playing right now. I get it. Obviously, if you have some religious observances that you have to deal with, and he's had to take some time off due to personal issue. Meanwhile, you have James Harden, who's been dealing with injury. Of course, he left that Knicks game last week with hamstring tightness. He played 5 minutes. We haven't heard from him in the past week. Don't know what's going on there. Yeah, but I think the big three have only played 8 games together.
It's not that much. Not that much
hasn't
at all.
been a lot of playing time.
No,
by any means. So,
yeah,
we shall see. We shall see what happens.
Yeah, I'm going to be optimistic and say everything will be fine come playoff time. They'll get their act together. I mean, not in terms of winning games, but just like everybody's playing finally. Because they're going to need them. They're going to need them. With a couple minutes left in the show, kind of a live update. So the Yankees are down 6-0 to the Blue Jays. Tyone did not pitch well for them, giving up 6 earned runs. So, that's where the Yankees are right now. Something that we didn't talk about last week was MLB moved their All-Star game out of Atlanta because of the new voting laws that were passed in Georgia. I guess, in form of protest. I don't know. I mean, it's just, I'm somebody that does not like when politics infiltrates sports because we use sports to get away from this kind of stuff.
And Kenny, it's really funny that we bring this up because I literally just wrote an article about that today for my Sports Media and Society class.
Oh, okay. So look at that. Yeah. So I'm not really a big fan of it. It's just, I guess you can come after me however you want it, but I think it's dumb. I really do because with the people of Atlanta, it'd be a good thing, to have the All-Star game down there. Now I guess that's not happening. It's now supposedly going to be moved to Coors Field now. So I guess Ben, with the minute and a half left, since you wrote a paper on it, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, I'll just say it's obviously a tough decision. I don't think Major League Baseball wanted to do this.
No, definitely not.
Of course not. But
they were definitely they were forced to, which is unfortunate.
Right. It was more of like a forced movement, and definitely I don't think that they wanted, again, they didn't want to do it. But a lot of pressure, obviously, from, a lot of people who've spoken out about it, saying that they want stuff moved out of Georgia. Obviously, a lot of people were calling for the Masters to be moved out of Georgia, but that was never going to happen because that's where the Masters is every single year. But yeah, obviously a tough decision for the MLB to make. But look, I'm looking forward to a Coors Field home run derby. That's for sure.
Yeah, no. The balls are not going to have to be juiced for that one because the ball just flies out of the ballpark. Yeah,
and one thing, Kenny, with the little time that we have left, we never did Upson Unleashed, so I'm just going to go really quick.
All right. Go ahead, do it.
The one big topic that I wanted to touch on that we didn't touch earlier. Upson Unleashed deserves just one thing tonight, and that is the missed call that the refs blew in that Sunday night baseball game between the Phillies.
That's right. We forgot to get to that, but yeah.
Alec Bohm coming home, it looked like at first glance I thought he actually might have clipped the plate. Ozuna throws a bomb home. What a throw that was to Travis d'Arnaud. But
guy never touched the plate.
The plate.
Yeah.
He misses the plate. When you look at the replay, it goes to replay, and they called him safe.
Yeah.
How in the world do you miss that? It's really ridiculous that the
Yeah, I
umps
mean,
missed
it
that.
goes back to what I was saying earlier in the show. Like, you get replay to get things right, and they didn't get it right. They didn't get it right.
What is the sole purpose of replay? To get things right. And
Exactly.
What is the use of it if we're not getting things right? That's all I had to say, the most abbreviated Ups and Unleashed, but that's all right. We got it in. That's all that matters.
Yeah. But you know what? Hey, listen, you had to get it in.
Yeah.
So with that, we're going to end off there. So that's all the time that we got for tonight. If you stayed with us for the full 2 hours, we really appreciate it. Hopefully, Ben, we get you back in the studio on Tuesday, so we'll be looking forward to that. And yeah, that's all we got. So I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder, along with Ben Upson, signing off from Infinite Sports Radio. Have a good night, and we will see you next time.
So long.